We're going to move on, though, into the next topic. We're not looking at the Denver Cowboys, like I said earlier. We're looking at the Dallas Cowboys.
The better of the two Cowboys.
We're going to D-Town, America's team. Jerry Jones, crazy Jerry Jones, the old crazy uncle that somehow owns the Dallas Cowboys. Mark, they have a quarterback controversy between Dak Prescott
or is the quarterback controversy been shut down already?
And here's my take from it. Usually I say, well, Mark, what do you think? And I throw it to you. I'm going to take this one first. And then
because you hate Dak Prescott. That's okay.
Okay, I'm going to say it again, just for the record. I don't hate Dak Prescott. At the beginning, was I high on Dak Prescott? No. But the one thing I will say is Dak Prescott has impressed me a little bit, especially on the maturity side. However, I'm going to get into it in a little bit how maybe the play style that he's not the play style, but how he's playing right now might not be the best for the Cowboys moving forward. But the one thing I want to say, this is what I want to start with, is I'm looking at this Prescott Romo situation, and it's, to me, eerily similar to a certain situation that happened up north from where we are. That happened up north with the team whose colors are yellow and green, and their fans wear cheese on their heads because somehow that's a thing.
Yep, the Green Bay Cheeseheads.
But
everybody knows them.
To me, it's eerily similar to Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. The main difference is Aaron Rodgers didn't come in and play right away. He sat a little bit for a few years, then came in and stole the job from Brett Favre. However, I'm sitting here going, man, this is a little similar to that kind of situation. What do you think?
Well, to go off that, I mean, I think that if the first thing that needs to be said is the quarterback controversy, who goes in here, Jerry Jones has come out and said Tony Romo's going to start. Now, Jerry Jones isn't the head coach. He doesn't really make that decision. The head coach is going to make that decision. But Jason Garrett typically just does what Jerry Jones wants him to do. So
Jerry Jones writes the checks, don't he?
He certainly does. He writes everybody's checks. So when it comes to that, technically, the controversy has been shut down. Jerry Jones has said what's going to happen. And I'm not really going to disagree with him on this situation, but we can get to that later. When it comes to what you're talking about, let's say Jerry Jones is right, and all of a sudden Tony Romo was back. I don't care what week it is, but he's back. It doesn't matter how long he starts. Dak Prescott has shown he's good. He gets more time to train, to learn, to be confident, whatever it is, even though I feel like he's kind of shown that he's got everything he needs. He can be successful. The next time that Tony Romo gets hurt and Dak Prescott comes back in, we might get one of those situations, one of those Tom Brady type of situations, one of those Aaron Rodgers situations of the young guy coming in off the bench, kicking the old guy out, saying, no, now it is my turn. Because you can put Dak Prescott back on the bench once, and I think you can get away with it. Because you can say, hey, you're a rookie. We know you're the future. We know we have him for more years. I think he's mature enough to understand what's going on. And it's not a Brock Osweiler situation. The well has not been poisoned. But that second time he goes out there and he performs well, or the third time he goes out there and performs well, he's not going to let you keep putting him on the bench. He's not going to let it happen. And your fans aren't going to let it happen the first time that Tony Romo throws an interception, because Dak Prescott has not thrown an interception yet. Not saying that he's never going to, but he has not done that yet. Tony Romo's, he likes to throw interceptions. So the first time that he does that, they're cheering for Dak. They're demanding he gets back out there. So for me, it just kind of comes down to this point where I fully believe, and this just changed last week or 2 weeks ago that we had this conversation, where I said Dak Prescott's the way to go. I still think he is the right answer in this case. But Tony Romo's going to come back and he's going to start. He'll probably get hurt again, and then Dak Prescott will come in and it'll be his job. But Tony Romo's going to take it at least once.
And I'm going to say this right now. When I brought up the Brett Favre and Rodgers thing, of course this is a little bit different because Aaron Rodgers came in, sat 3 years, and then kicked Brett Favre out the door.
But he also needed more preparation than Dak Prescott apparently did.
And usually teams, we've seen it with Brett Favre, we've seen it and Sean may hate this discussion, but we've seen it in the with the Colts and then with the Patriots and the discussion for Tom Brady, usually teams look at their quarterback and they get the thing with quarterbacks is you want to get rid of them right before it's going to go downhill. Before the cliff. The only thing is for each quarterback, you don't know where that cliff is going to be, and that's the hard part. For me, though, I look at the Brett Favre and Rodgers situation. As of right now, it's not that different than what we have right now. Brett Favre, in the 3 years that Aaron Rodgers sat, 4-12, 8-8, 13-3. Tony Romo, I'm not counting last season because Tony Romo barely played, but if we count the other seasons, 8-8, 8-8, 12-4. Go to the playoffs, should have went to the conference championship game.
But did not.
But the NFL doesn't know what a fucking catch is, so that's why they lost that game to the Fudge Packers. But kind of a similar, 12-4, good record, first in the division, and then the new guy comes in. Well, I know Romo was kind of injured last season. There was a year off, and that's the big difference.
I also don't think Romo intends on retiring, Brett Favre
also played
retiring.
in this situation where he retired, then he came back, he retired. So I get that part too. But the thing I see here is, like I said, like you said, the weeks ago when we talked about this, I still stand by the point. When Romo's ready to come back in 3 weeks, I think it is, like Dak's going to have the Green Bay game, the bye week, and then that Philly game. Dak gets that game, and then it's Romo. When Romo's ready to come back, you give him the job, because the thing I see is this is still Romo's team. And I don't expect this to be a situation of Romo, then Dak, Romo, then Dak, Romo, then Dak. I think this situation comes down to when Romo comes back, it's Romo's job. But then it's like, hey, Romo, this is your last stint. Either you play well, or if you get injured, if you have to put in Dak that next time, then it's Dak's team.
That's where I'm at with this, where I think sure, you can sit Dak once, but the next time he comes out, it's his job. It's his team from that point forward. Now, I don't think I would go so far to say that this for sure is Tony Romo's team if the Dallas Cowboys somehow keep winning. That's the worst thing. It sounds weird to say, but that's the worst thing for the Cowboys right now. Every game that Dak Prescott wins at quarterback is another time when it becomes his team. It's another time where he wins these guys over. And Tony Romo's had like 10 years of it being his team. So it's not like he's going to completely take everything away and people are saying, fuck that Romo guy. Dak's my man. No one's saying that on the team, on the roster, whatever it is in the locker room. So
I still feel like Jason Witten,
Jason Witten is definitely Tony Romo's
He's beginning to warm up to Dak a little bit. But Witten's still a Romo guy.
Yeah, he loves
I feel
Romo.
Des Bryant, yes, he'll defend Dak Prescott, but Romo, Des is a Romo guy.
But I think that what it comes down to for me is every single game that they win, Dak Prescott's winning these guys over. And when it comes down to it, what is the week that we think that Tony Romo's coming back in?
The Brown game.
The Browns. So yeah,
it's either going to be the Browns. It's either the Brown game, or he may come back after the bye. But I believe
play the Steelers maybe.
But I believe right now it's Dak's got the Green Bay game, Dak's got the Philly game, and then that week 9 is the target date for Romo to come back.
Yeah. So if he does well, if he manages to beat Green Bay,
test.
Yeah, he manages to beat Green Bay. He beats Philly, but I don't want to say Philly's that much of a test until we see how they bounce back post Vikings lost.
Lions lost.
Or Lions lost, sorry. Wrong crappy team.
They are going to lose to the Vikings too, so I guess you're right there.
So I just want to see how they bounce back from things just because the rookie got his first loss. And that's an important part in the career. So, yeah, of course, Tony Romo can beat the Browns. Of course, that Steelers game is going to be a much different story, and it's going to be a lot more difficult. If he does not do well against the Steelers, if he does not do well against the Ravens, which got the stank of Mark Trestman off the team, Hopefully that's going to make them better. If he starts not doing well, if he throws 3 picks against the Vikings, which is very possible.
Well, that Viking game, I can't get either quarterback's going to get destroyed in that game.
Probably.
Either one. Dak will go out there, and if Dak hasn't thrown an interception to that point, that's the game where he throws an interception.
That's not what matters to the fans.
Yeah.
If they see Tony Romo go out there and he starts throwing interceptions, they're going to say, hey, Dak Prescott.
So let's put him in. This is a Tim Tebow situation.
No matter what, as soon as Tony Romo starts not doing well, the team's gonna say, "Hey, man, this is assuming they beat the Packers, they beat the Eagles. Hey, we had this guy who was doing really, really well. I don't know what happened. I don't know why you made the change. We were winning games. We were beating teams that were good and teams that were bad, but we were beating teams that were good, assuming they beat the Packers, they beat the Eagles, and Tony Romo." He can easily lose the fan base. It's just not a good situation. I agree for Jerry Jones because Jerry Jones told me it's going to happen. So Tony Romo, hey, he's back. As soon as he gets back, it's his job. But I don't know how much is left. I don't really know what to say with that. Ezekiel Elliott's doing great. So people want to point out the lower touchdown numbers for Dak Prescott, and that's fine. But Ezekiel Elliott, he's right there for the top guy, top rushing yards, right there for top touchdowns. He's not the top guy, but he's not far from the top.
Mm-hmm.
So Ezekiel Elliott's doing great. He's going to probably do great whichever quarterback is there. But I do want to say
that offensive line is fucking amazing.
Course. But I do want to say for people pointing out the statistical. Now, Dak Prescott's not doing amazing. He's still on pace to get about 4,000 yards. Touchdowns definitely low. Ezekiel Elliott takes some of that. He also got off to a slow start. So it's hard to really judge it statistically just because Dak Prescott hasn't gotten enough time to really do well. He could, be Carson Wentz going lights out and then the remainder of the season do terrible. You never know. Not saying that that's what's going to happen with everybody's favorite Carson Wentz. Just saying we don't know enough about Dak Prescott to really gauge things just yet. So you're purely going off perception and gut feeling. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, it's one of those things where I'm going to relate it back to when I was in college because I was a music student. They always would tell you when you're performing something, your audience is practice the beginning and practice the end. The middle you can kind of practice, but it's okay if the middle's the weakest part. Because at the end, the audience, the two things they're going to remember the most is the first thing they heard and the last thing they heard. And right now, we are in what's the last thing we saw? Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing Dak Prescott. So Cowboy fans are like, woo, look at this Dak Prescott. Look at this guy. Look at that guy. Well, I think Cowboy fans are forgetting a little bit how good Tony Romo is. Yeah, the injuries are there, and they're a big part. I'm not going to downplay the injury, but when you look at Tony Romo's last full season, because last season he didn't really play, 3,750 yards. He had about,
to be fair, that's not a full season.
8.8.
He did miss a game last in 2014.
A game?
Yeah.
A game.
So, no, that's what I'm saying, though. It could be up.
Yeah, it could be
higher.
more. He had about 8.5 yards per attempt. He only threw 9 interceptions, had 34 touchdowns. That, to me, is the biggest part. Like, the big thing with Dak Prescott that I kind of want to say I don't like, but I'm going to say it's his biggest flaw is, yeah, you can say, oh, well, it doesn't matter that he's not scoring touchdowns because they're winning. But my big thing is they're not pushing the ball down the field.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, the dink and dunk is not going to work because a team like my Viking defense will say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to load the box, shut down Ezekiel Elliott. We're not going to give you any of this underneath shit. Beat us deep.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Dak can't beat you deep, it's like, cool, we won.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something, and I think that the coaching staff needs to start forcing the ball a little deeper
eventually
to let that happen.
Eventually, defenses are going to figure that out. And the stats that I did want to throw out for this discussion, passing yards per game, about 247.8. He ranks 21st in the league. Passing touchdowns, he has 4. 29th, tied for 29th. 25-plus yard completions, he's got 7, tied for 19th. Touchdown percentage, 2.6, tied for 29th. Tom Brady came into the league, into the season this past week. He's already almost tied Dak Prescott in one game. I mean,
a little unfair to compare
it's Tom Brady.
Dak Prescott and Tom Brady. But the other thing...
But it's a quarterback who pushes the ball down the field.
Sure. Who also has better weapons than Dak Prescott does.
Tom Brady's a guy, he'll throw it to whoever's open.
Tom Brady's got good weapons. Let's not deny the weapons that New England has.
Tom Brady has weapons, but Tom Brady's a guy that, you're open, I'm going to throw it to you. Dak Prescott looks like, Cole Beasley? Where's Cole? Where's Cole? Where's Cole? Where's Cole? Where's Cole?
I think you're over-exaggerating quite a bit.
Where's my Beasley?
But with that being said, I think that here's the thing is I don't want to put too much blame just on him because I think, of course, Jason Garrett's going to be a little protective with his quarterback. He's not letting him go out there and unleash the dragon.
Yeah. Well, he's not Rex Grossman.
No one can be. But I think that some of those percentages, those stats, is just what I was saying earlier of he needs more time before we can really assess these statistics, I think. For those passing touchdowns, got off to a slow start. For the pushing it down the field, I don't think the coaching staff wants him to push it down the field yet, and that's probably going to come back to haunt them a little bit.
Eventually, good defenses are going to figure out a way to take away the dink and dunk.
But we really haven't seen him
go up
going
against
deep.
Good defenses.
Well, but we haven't also seen him going deep, so I don't know. Maybe it'll be just fine. And that's where the danger comes, and that's why Jason Garrett, that's why the coaching staff needs to start to let him run wild a little bit and let him go out there and do it. And it's unfortunate that Dez Bryant is not exactly an option.
Well, it's okay. Dez Bryant wasn't getting the most targets anyways.
Well, that's the thing is if you want him to push it, Dez Bryant being there is going to help him push it.
It's kind of it's one of those things where I'm going to compare it to this past week for the Chicago Bears. Everybody's talking about that fourth down. Everybody and their grandmother talking about that fourth down. How do you not throw it to Alshon? How's Alshon not the first read? You want to know why he wasn't the first read? Because Brian Hoyer, that entire game, who was Brian Hoyer's guy that entire game?
He loved Meredith.
And that's who he went to. So what did the Colts do? We're going to put fucking 4 people around him. Well, what are teams not doing to the Cowboys? They're not respecting Cole Beasley. And yes, it's the little underneath routes that the Cowboys are trying to run with Beasley to where it's a lack of respect for Beasley. It's the way they're using him. Dak's just thrown to, Beasley's his boy. Yeah, he hits Terrence West a little bit. He throws to Witten a little bit. But Beasley's his guy. Take away Beasley, let's see how he does.
And I think that's obviously valid, but we haven't seen him in that situation, so I don't want to make assumptions of what it's going to be like when we get him in that situation.
I'm just saying a defense should take away Beasley. Let's see how
they should.
That's them. I'm
pretty sure that the Packers, who they get to play now, who are one of the best run defenses out there, I'm pretty sure they're going to take Ezekiel Elliott away. I'm pretty sure they're going to know that it's all about this short game from them. They have to, right? Someone has to start to figure it out. So I think we're going to start to see the test. We're going to have to start seeing him start pushing the ball. Until we see him push the ball, I don't want to assume that he can't.
And the one thing I am going to say is I'm looking at the stats right here. Jason Witten actually does have one more target than Cole Beasley. So I guess let's throw Jason Witten in there as well. But I'm taking Dez out because Dez is injured right now. If we go with the healthy wide receivers, Cole Beasley, 33 targets on the year. The next wide receiver that has the highest targets, Terrence Williams at 19. 19 targets.
Yeah.
That's a huge gap between 1 and 2 on the wide receiver.
For sure. So we just got to see what happens when he starts playing these better teams.
But
that's really what it comes down to.
But the bottom line is, I think these next 2 tests for Dak are going to be tough. I think when Romo's ready, you give it to him. It's Romo's team. It's Romo's job. You give it to him.
I want to say that there's no I think. Jason Garrett's going to do what Jerry Jones wants him to do. Jerry Jones has said that Tony Romo's going to play. So there's no controversy, as much as we want there to be one, because we have the discussion. It's
Can
fun.
I throw a similar question?
He's going to do it.
A similar question that I did at the end of the last segment at you for this one.
I guess I'm allowing it.
Season ends.
Uh-huh.
Tony Romo plays the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Do we see at the end of this year the Cowboys think to themselves, you know what? We got this guy Dak pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to sell Romo high. Let's try to sell him high, trade him to a team that needs a quarterback. Try to get a king's ransom.
I don't think you're going to be able to sell a 37-year-old quarterback. He's going to be 37 by the time they're trying to trade him in April.
Maybe a team that's close to a Super Bowl that just needs a quarterback? Needs that missing
I can't really
piece?
think of a team that's
Looking at Denver.
close.
Looking at Denver.
No, they're not gonna bench Paxton Lynch. They got the rookie. They can't do it.
If Paxton Lynch loses a couple more games this season,
No, they
maybe doesn't look
invested
like
too
the
high
guy.
in him. They invested too high in him. They can't do that, I don't think. So, and also John Elway, I think he's got a little bit of loyalty in him. I don't think he's going to do that.
maybe a team like Cleveland. Let's get a quarterback. Let's get any
Guys,
quarterback.
Ricky just said that Cleveland is close, a quarterback away from a Super Bowl.
I didn't say
That's
that.
what you just said.
I didn't say that.
That is what you just said.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing out teams now. Buffalo. Maybe if they feel like, hey, our defense is good, they make the playoffs this year. Maybe we need a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor.
I don't know. Buffalo's an interesting one. But I don't think that Tony Romo's going to be traded. I think that Tony Romo, what's going to happen is Dallas is going to let him stay there with the mindset of, hey, Tony, the next time you go out, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. And for Tony Romo's sake, I think he should probably just retire. He is one injury away from not having a spine anymore. It's just the man can't take that much left. They know it.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to keep Dak Prescott knowing that pretty soon is probably his turn. For Tony Romo's sake, I hope he can go and actually finally win his Super Bowl or just a playoff game that's been eluding him for so long.
And this is where you guys come in. Let us know down below what you guys think. We got to move on. We've been rambling for this one for a long, long time. We got to get.
We just love the Dak attack. He's my fantasy quarterback, mostly because Cam Newton's hurt.
Your dollar backs because you had 4 quarterbacks, but now you don't.
But
have
nobody
4
wanted to
quarterbacks.
trade for any of my quarterbacks, even though I have Blake Bortles on my
they
team. I have Blake
suck.
Bortles. Blake Bortles is like the 8th ranked fantasy quarterback.
They suck.
Cam Newton is like, he's hurt now, so it doesn't really matter. And Dak Prescott, he just got me 17 points.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, Brian Hoyer got me 23, but I played Tom Brady instead.
I'm pretty sure my leading scorer last week was my kicker, Adam Vinatieri. So
He
whatever.
had 23 points.
Yeah, I won. So what do I care?
Hey, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
But let us know down below what you guys think.